Okay, so this is the beginning of me explaining the secrets of ascendants. And we're starting with Aries. I didn't really take too many damn notes down for this shit. So I'm just really speaking off the top of my head, and the things I'm gonna say in this video about what is Aries and what happens in general in the Aries ascendant's life is just really, you know, me speaking in a general basis, and everything I'm saying isn't like the ultimate truth of what Aries will go through. It's just like explaining the North Node and the South Node. There's so many things that they represent that it's hard to put them into encapsulate or whatever them into one video or to one book. But the purpose of these videos is to sort of get your mind, thinking, get the gears turning for you to see all the multiple ways that you can interpret a chart and make decent analysis and predictions about someone without the need of a planet. And once you're able to dissect a person's chart just based upon their ascendant without needing to know planets, this will help you further be able to dissect what does a planet do when it's in a sign. Because if you take that planet and make it the ascendant and whatever sign it's in, you'll know that that person or the significator of that planet is going to have to deal with the things that that sign represents. This will help you knowing how to make predictions and good analysis about a person just based upon their ascendant will help you be able to break someone down even without the need of nakshatras. Of course, nakshatras and empadas get even deeper, but with this will help you make decent analysis and statements about someone without sounding like an airhead and without you even needing to really need nakshatras really too much. So, without further ado, let's get into Aries ascendant. So, the first house, Aries. The first house is the forehead from here on up, and it's ironic I'm wearing this red goddamn muscle shirt, and Aries associated with Mars. Mars is red, but anyway, the first house is the body, the overall health of the native, and it's in particularly the forehead from like above the eyebrows is Aries. Um, And one thing that you want to do when you are like examining and wanting to figure out how does, what is going on with an ascendant, you want to see what's like the relationship. You want to see the relationship of the ascendant lord with the other planets that rule the houses and stuff. I'm going through my notes. And you also want to see what planets are exalted and debilitated in the houses of the signs and stuff. But I'm going to clarify all this shit. One of the things that you can say about a person who is an Aries ascendant is that 410 axis, that 4th house and 10th house axis in their chart is like very karmic. They have issues with their parents, and you might think, well, everybody got issues with their parents, but for the Aries ascendant, it's a little bit more prevalent than usual, and I'll explain. One source of evidence, is to look at all of the nakshatras that fall within the Aries Rashi: Ashwini, Bharani, and Kritika. Now, what about Ashwini? The deity is the Ashwin Kumaras, and their father is Surya. The mother is Sanjana, if I'm correct. I don't want to say Chaya. I believe Chaya means shadow. Chaya is fake, the fake mother. But anyway, those are the parents of the Ashwin Kumaras. But if we know, and also the deity of Bharani is Yama. His father is Surya. So if you know about Surya, we know that his wife ends up leaving him. She ends up running away and leaving him. It's stated apparently that she could no longer take the heat of the sun. Or some people interpret it metaphorically that the heat could be the anger of the father, the anger of her husband. She could no longer take it and she leaves. But she instead makes a clone of herself. Or basically has like a clone of herself fill in as her as a wife. And Surya doesn't know that this is that this is a clone that he's engaging with, that this isn't actually his wife. And he ends up having kids with her, having kids with the clone. And one of the offsprings of the clone was Shawnee. I believe it was Shawnee. I should have refresh my mind on the mythological lores. Y'all can go look at my Nakshatra videos where it's fresh on my brain. But there was, conflict with the kids that came from the original mother, Sanjana, and there was conflict with the kids that Surya had with the fake wife, Chaya. And Yama and his brother, Shani, aka Saturn, they fought and didn't get along. And one of them spoke to Surya, was like, how could this be our mother? You see what she did to me. She cursed me. What type of mother would curse their own child and stuff? And the father didn't believe the kid. Surya ends up going and pressing down the wife like, are you my goddamn wife? Are you my goddamn woman? Why would you do this to the kid? Finds out that that's not really his wife. He goes, finds his real wife. She's like in the form of a horse. He takes the form of a horse. They make up. They have wonderful horse sex. And the Ashwini Kumaras was born. But you see, just from Ashwini Nakshatra and Bharani Nakshatra, you see that conflict with the children. You see that conflict with the wife leaving and another woman filling in, and then he goes back to retrieve his original wife. So that relationship for Aries ascendant with like their mother and father, that 410 axis, might be a little bit difficult for the native. It might be a little bit karmic. And then if you go to Kritika Nakshatra, even though this falls in between Aries and Taurus, the deity of Kritika is Agni. But the main character that I want to focus on to further support my saying that the Aries ascendant person might naturally have, issues with and particularly the fourth house, because that's where Mars is debilitated. The ascendant lord of Aries is Mars. Mars is debilitated in Cancer, and therefore Mars will be debilitated in the fourth house. The fourth house is also where Mars loses its directional strength. But when we go back to the final nakshatra, and then I'll explain all that. Yes, Kritika Nakshatra. The main person I want to talk about is Kartikeya, the commander or the general of the army of the Devas, I believe. And like I said, the deity of the nakshatra is Agni, but this is where it gets so tongue-twisting, because it's like so many subtle differences in interpretations of this story. But the main thing is that Kartikeya wasn't raised by like his biological parent, because one interpretation is that Kartikeya comes from the sweat of like Shiva. And then another interpretation is that Kartikeya comes from like the semen of Shiva, and Shiva's semen like touches the earth, and it was too much for the earth to handle, and therefore multiple people is bearing the semen of Shiva because it was too much for one person to handle. And then Kartikeya is born. And what else do I gotta say? But the women that take care of Kartikeya comes from the Kritikas. I do not want to fuck this up. I'm probably already fucking up the lore because I'm not too sure. Because it leaves my brain after I make my videos. But if you're familiar with the lengthy goddamn mythological lore of Critica and how Albany lusted after the wives of the sages, and then his soon-to-be consort follows him and takes on the form of each of those wives that he lusted after, and they had sex, and every time he would, ejaculate, his wife would fucking take his semen and put it into like an artificial womb or whatever, and it ends up being those wives of the sages that ends up raising Kartikeya, the offspring of Shiva, because rumors and word got out that those sages' wives ended up, having an affair outside of the relationship, outside of the marriage and shit. It gets real fucking messy. The story gets real convoluted and like slight different interpretations when I look at videos or look it up on the internet and shit. Let's look at my fucking Critica video if you want the clean, little bit more organized detail of it. But because of the lore associated with Critica, you see this theme of, multiple parents, multiple caretakers, unusual birth. The Ashwin Kumaras, they was born through the nose. It was born through the nose of the horse. Shawnees is a little bit associated with Bharani Nakshatra and Yama. At least Yama, I'm not Yama. At least Shawnee had like an unusual birth, not really the best relationship with his father, Surya. Kartikeya was raised by other people outside of his parents. And then even then, if you look up the little lore of Kartikeya having a race around the world, supposedly, with his brother Ganesha, and then Ganesha winning the race, not off of his strength, but based upon his knowledge, Kartikeya ends up feeling cheated. Because they were supposed to have a race around the world. But what Ganesha did ended up walking around in circles around his parents, which was Parvati and Shiva, because he said that they are symbolic of the world. They are symbolic of the universe. So walking around them was the equivalent of racing around the world. And when Kartikeya found out that they gave whatever prize to Ganesha instead of Kartikeya, he felt angry, he felt cheated, and he ends up leaving. So you see that little dysfunction between the parents, at least from a nakshatra level when it comes to Aries. What else supports me saying that an Aries ascendant person might naturally have like a difficult or maybe a frustrated karma with the parents? Well, Mars is debilitated in Cancer, which would be the 4th house for an Aries ascendant. And Mars loses its directional strength. In my opinion, when a planet is debilitated, that's an area that, of course, the planet might struggle, but that might be an area where the planet might work real hard towards that area. So, as I told you through these damn little nakshatra interpretations of the nakshatras that fall in between Aries, we can see that, and also the 4th house represents the happiness of the person. So 4th house is the home life. 4th house is like the mental happiness, because Moon originally rules Cancer and is originally associated with the 4th house. Moon is the mind. So the 4th house is your happiness. The 4th house is the home. And the 4th house represents the mother. So we see that because Mars is debilitated in the 4th house, you will struggle with finding happiness within the home. You'll struggle with finding happiness within the home, and that could end up maybe making you want to move out. Maybe make you want to end up leaving home early because of the struggle with the happiness within the home life. You have to work hard to establish happiness within the home life, or maybe establish a decent relationship with the mother as an Aries ascendant. But where is Mars exalted? Mars is exalted in Capricorn. And in my opinion, Even when you break down the nakshatras that fall within Capricorn, Capricorns are conquerors. Capricorns are symbolic of conquerors. And I was going to save this maybe for when I get to Capricorn, but that might be a while since I'm in Aries right now. But if you motherfucking look at Uttarashada, that falls into Capricorn. Capricorn in Sagittarius, but Uttarashada represents later victory, final victory, long-lasting victory. And Mars represents your fighting ability, your courage, and all that good stuff. So I associate that with, like, you know, a soldier going into a war, winning, and having long-lasting success, long-lasting peace, getting medals and rewards. And don't forget that the mongoose is associated with Uttarashada. If you are always out in war, then you really don't got time for a spouse. The mongoose is by himself as a yoni animal. He doesn't have a partner. He's by himself. And the mongoose is very smart. Is very tactical. Mars, I believe, also represents logic. So Mars might not be the most super intelligent like Mercury, who is his enemy planet, but there's some logic or a sense of tactfulness to Mars, you know, to win the war. It might be smart and uses its intelligence. Mars sort of has like intelligence for war, for like destruction or aggression and stuff. That's where Mars's intelligence sort of thrives. It has like intelligence of the body. But moving on from Uttarashada, you jump to Shravana. In Shravana, you can either be Mahabali, the demon who takes the land from Indra, or you can be Vishnu when he turned into the kid. He incarnated as the kid, the dwarf Brahmin, and cunningly takes back the land that was stolen. But either way, you see that in Shravana, there's a theme of conquering land, retrieving property, retrieving and stealing materialism. When you're in war, which is, you know, I don't know, it depends. You could go to war for different things. You're conquering their land, you're taking their resources. So from that perspective, it makes sense why Mars is exalted in Capricorn. And why Capricorn, in my opinion, is associated with conquerors. Then you go and jump to the final nakshatra that falls into Capricorn. Dhanista is associated with Bhishma or Bishtama, the warrior. And is also associated with the 8 Vasus, the elemental deities. Everything in this world that we use come from like the basic elements. Stuff that we can find in the earth, find in the soil, air, water, rocks, fire, whatever. All the stuff that we use is just refined. It's just refined forms of basic elements. So the Dhanista person, they want to conquer the things of this world. That's how I sort of view it. So Capricorn is a conqueror. Mars in Capricorn is utilizing its conquering abilities to the highest degree. And also think about and another thing with Mars. I'm getting all tongue-tied, but for Aries ascendant, long story short, to not get tongue-tied, since Capricorn is in their 10th house of their career, the Aries ascendant person, they will be like a conqueror of their career. They might master or just be like top dog within their career or profession. I'll give you a beautiful example. Let's jump back to the Aries ascendant. Let's jump back to the nakshatras that fall in within Aries. The Ashwin Kumaras. These are miracle workers. These are healers. They're like one of the best fucking healers. I mean, of course, you got Ardra, which is, you know, Rudra. And then you got Varuna, But the Ashwini Kumars, they are up there with being top-notch healers and miracle workers. Let's jump to another Aries. Another nakshatra in Aries. Yama. Initially, Yama used to be very handsome, but he slacked off in his career. He slacked off in his profession, and Shiva ends up disfiguring him, making him look ugly, turning him into a monster. That way he won't be so caught up in his looks. He won't be so caught up in his appearance, and he'll focus on his job as being, like a judge over, death and stuff. Let's jump to Kritika. Even though the deity is Agni, you do still see like that influence of Kartikeya overneath Kritika. And Kartikeya was a warrior. Within 7 days, he slayed this demon. He slayed this beast. But Kartikeya is a wonderful, powerful warrior, commander. So you see, with Ashwini, you have the healers. Bharani, you have this serious, top-notch judge over death and stuff. And then in Kritika, you have this commander, this warrior. So, like I said, that conquering of their career, being the best and top-notch in their career, is something that you can see for an Aries ascendant, or for planets that are prominent and dominant in Aries. Another thing that you can say about someone who has an Aries ascendant, they would probably be very handsome or have a youthful appearance. Why? Well, for one, I believe the Ashwin Kumar brothers, they are described to be like youthful and handsome. Then if you jump to Bharani Nakshatra, Yama used to be very handsome. Used to be very handsome, very attractive, got distracted and caught up in his looks and the women and all that stuff. And then you have Kritika Nakshatra with Agni. I believe Agni is described as always being youthful. But also think about fire. Let's think of fire as if it's like a newborn life. If every time you start, you turn on your stove, you fire up your grill, you take out your lighter, let's say that every time you ignite it, it's born. And fire, your stove, your lighter, your grill, you might have your stove on, depending on what you're cooking, for like an hour. You might have your grill on for hours. You might flick your lighter on for a few seconds. Let's treat that fire as if it was a newborn baby. Boom. You have your baby, it's an hour old, it's a few seconds old, it's a few hours old. And then boom, you turn the fire off. You put the fire out on your grill. You unflick your lighter and it's dead. Treat fire as if it's like a newborn baby. Fire doesn't have a long lifespan, unless you keep fanning it and keeping it going. But fire, the point that I'm making is fire in a sense is forever young. It's forever youthful. So therefore, an Aries ascendant person might have a very youthful appearance. They could be very handsome and they could have a very youthful appearance. That's something that you can see with an Aries ascendant person. And then another thing that I had mentioned in the beginning of this video is when it comes to breaking down ascendants is to think about the other planets. Think about what planet is exalted in Aries. Think about what planet is exalted in Taurus and debilitated in Scorpio. Think about what's exalted in Virgo, debilitated in Virgo, and exalted in Pisces. That will help you understand that ascendant even fucking more. For example, Sun is exalted in Aries. And That would be the first house for an Aries ascendant. And Sun is debilitated in the 7th house of Libra. And Sun loses directional strength there. Just think about that. So what could we say about an Aries ascendant person, because we know that Sun is exalted in the 1st house? You can say that for an Aries ascendant person, that they could be, very self-centered, stereotypical shit. You could say that they, very self-centered, egotistical, they want to put themselves first, strong sense of self, whatever. You can say that about them. And because Sun is debilitated in the 7th house, which represents the sunset, and which represents intimate one-on-one relationships and marriage, we see that they have a hard time, maybe, they can have a hard time sharing. They can have a hard time letting their ego die and take a seat back within the marriage. Their ego, their strong sense of self, might not be effective in marriage. It might kill the marriage. It might not get them nowhere in marriage. And let's think about this. Saturn is debilitated in Aries, and Saturn is exalted in the 7th house of Libra. So what else could we say about an Aries ascendant person, since we know that this is where that planet is exalted and that planet is debilitated? So with Saturn being debilitated in the 1st house of Aries for an Aries ascendant, you could say, and let's think about, what is Saturn? Saturn is a servant. Saturn represents servants and servitude. An Aries ascendant person isn't really good at, their strength, their forte isn't in being subservient to people. I just told you, Aries people, their 10th house is Capricorn. They're conquerors. Their Sun, if Sun was in the 1st house for Aries ascendant, it would be exalted. They have a strong sense of self. They think they're the shit. They're not good at being subservient to people, unless there's other planets or whatever in the chart that might help them. But on a blank chart, an Aries ascendant person isn't really good at serving other people. So they'll struggle at that. But Saturn would be exalted in the 7th house for an Aries ascendant person. So what would that show us? That would show us that it would be their spouse. Their spouse would maybe show them. Their spouse would humble them. There we go. Marriage, or maybe close intimate relationships, their partner or whatever will humble the Aries ascendant person. Because the Aries ascendant person, they would have to be humbled. They'll have to get their ego in check. They'll have to simmer the fuck down if they want to make the marriage work. They'll probably get tired, speaking in the general sense, because this is just a blank chart. But an Aries ascendant person, they might get tired of fucking just maybe having temporary relationships. They can't hold on to somebody. Everybody getting married and shit. And they can't put their dick away, metaphorically. They can't tone their testosterone down. What if a man or woman? They gotta be so aggressive. They gotta be so over the top. They can't simmer the fuck down. And that ends up ruining the chances of being in a relationship, a real one, because they don't know when to take the seat back. They probably want to be dominant all the time. So with Sun being debilitated in Libra in the 7th house, and Saturn being exalted in Libra in the 7th house, their ego gotta die, and their partner would teach them to be, I don't know, how to maybe not be so selfish, how you can still be powerful, how you can still be strong without needing to be right all the time, to show you that you can still be strong and subservient. You don't gotta rule with an iron fist. That's something that you can see an Aries ascendant person deal with. Planets that are prominent in Aries, this is what they'll have to deal with. So let's think of another planet, another graha. Moon. Moon's mutrikon in exaltation is Taurus, and it is debilitated in Scorpio. Moon is the mind, moon is the emotions. So, with moon being exalted and mutrikon is in the second house. What is the second house? The second house is the family that you come from. It's your wealth. It's the mouth. It's the mouth, it's the throat, it's the wealth, it's the family that you come from. Taurus, the second house, whatever, it's the sustenance. It's how you sustain yourself. It's how you provide yourself. The first house, you're born. You're a baby. When you're born, the sun is rising. That's where the sun was. The first house is your birth. And it's funny. All of the lures of the planet of the nutritures that fall into of the planets that fall of the nutritures that are within Aries, they deal with like unusual births. Ashwini, the Ashwin Kumara, is born through the nose. Yama, don't quote me on this because I have genuinely forgotten. I do not remember if his mother is Sanjana, which I do believe is Sanjana. And I believe Shani comes from Chaya, the fake mother. Because that's why Brahaspati, if you look up the lore of Pushya, that's why Brahaspati rejects Shani, teaching him the right thing, because he doesn't believe he is a legitimate child of Surya. So yes, I'm going to go with that. Shani comes from the fake mother. Yama comes from the original mother. But if you look up the whole lore surrounding Yama's life, you see that, he had siblings that came from the fake mother, Chaya. Then Kartikeya, the unusual birth and caretakers. So it's ironic. All of Aries ascendant might deal with like maybe an unusual birth. But I have legitimately just lost my train of thought. You was talking about moon being exalted in the second house. Because like I said, wherever Taurus is, it is where you sort of get your sustenance at. The first house is you're being born. You're a baby. And then the second house is the mouth. You're being fed. You're being taken care of. Moon is also a significator and representative of mother. Mom is feeding you. The mother is feeding you, is taking care of you and stuff. Typically. I think moon also is associated with milk. Or you could just associate a mother with milk. Whether it's the titty milk or the formula milk. But, what else can I say? There's a lot of things you can say about a planet exalted and a planet debilitated. But for an Aries ascendant, potentially, since we know that moon is exalted in Taurus, an Aries ascendant person, they might be overindulgent of the things within the second house. An Aries ascendant person, they might spend too much wealth. They might not care about money. They might not care about wealth. An Aries ascendant person, they might eat too much. Or might have a terrible diet. An Aries ascendant person, what else can I say? Maybe drink too much, because moon is liquids, it's water. So, there we go. Short and simple, an Aries ascendant person naturally can be overindulgent of the things in relation to the second house. And one of the best ways to sort of interpret, Aries or Mars is sort of like a soldier. It's like a warrior, If you're out in war, you don't know if you're going to make it back. You don't know if you're going to return to your family. So you might just blow your money. You might just live life to the highest. You might blow all of your sustenance. You might eat to your heart's content. Drink to your heart's content. Get high to your content. Spend money like it's nothing. So you might be overindulgent as an Aries ascendant in the things in relation to the second house. And you might constantly drink because the moon is the mind and moon is associated with liquids. And since moon is the mind, an Aries ascendant mind might be at peace when they are overindulgent in the things to the second house. Moon is debilitated in Scorpio. Moon would be in the 8th house for Aries ascendant. 8th house is the trauma, is the transformation. The trauma that you experience ends up transforming you. So like I said, in my opinion, when planets are debilitated, that's an area that you have to really work hard on and focus on. You got to give a lot of attention to that area of your life. So what can we say about an Aries ascendant person? They will face a lot of 8th house events. They will face a lot of trauma, which makes sense because the ascendant lord for Aries is Mars. Mars rules their 1st house and Mars rules their 8th house, Scorpio. So the Aries ascendant person will have to deal with a lot of trauma. Since moon is debilitated in the 8th house, the Aries ascendant person, they could deal with a lot of mental trauma, more than usual. What can I say? The 8th house is of course associated with death. It's associated with sex. It's associated with the in-laws. It's associated with your spouse's wealth. So I don't know. Like I said, just think about that. I don't got all the answers like I told you. I'm just showing you how you can interpret these charts. But short and simple, the mind can go through a lot of trauma. Yeah, that's what you could go through. A lot of 8th house events, sudden events, deaths, and accidents. The 3rd house. The 3rd house is your efforts. The 3rd house is, the 3rd house is Gemini. The 3rd house is your efforts because the 3rd house is associated with your bravery. Mars is a Karga, a significator of the 3rd house. Mars, the 3rd house and Mars is a significator of the 3rd house, and the 3rd house is also associated with your bravery, your efforts, and all that good stuff. The enemy of Mars is Gemini. I'm just making sure, looking at my notes, making sure I ain't effing up. Yes, the enemy of Mars is Mercury. So, like I said, one way to interpret ascendants is to see the relationship of that planet with the lord of that house. So, what can we say? We can say that for an Aries ascendant, they might not be the best at communicating, expressing themselves. Their communication might be aggressive, might be very assertive. My theory on why Mars' enemy is Mercury is because Mercury, it rules Gemini and it rules Virgo. These are sort of intellectual signs, very chatty and communicative signs that think, they can get caught up in the details. Mars is like more so action oriented. It's action oriented. It's all about that action. It wants to take action. It doesn't want to think too much. It doesn't want to get caught up in the verbal details. It don't got time to think. It just wants to do. And Mars doesn't want to do that. It doesn't want to talk the situation out. It wants to just handle it immediately. It doesn't want to delay. It wants to just, no, time for talking is over. We're taking action right now. Like I said, think about the nakshatras that fall within Aries, ascendant. That falls within Aries. The Ashwinis, they are associated with impulsiveness and racing because horses is associated with Ashwini. Yama is a judge. You can't really debate and go back and forth with a judge. The judge's mind is made up. He's going to give you your sentence. Kartikeya is associated with Kritika. He's a warrior, a commander. We on the battlefield, the time for talking and peace is over. I'm going to whoop your ass now. So, an Aries ascendant, their communication might not be the best. They just want to take action. Or they might have a very aggressive form of speech. What else can I say about an Aries ascendant person? Let's move on to the 4th house. I sort of already talked about the 4th house. You know, Moon gains its directional strength in the 4th house. Surprisingly, Cancer is not the neutral cone sign for Moon, but Moon does originally rule this sign. It does originally rule that sign and gains directional strength in that house. So, but like I said, because Mars is debilitated in the 4th house of Cancer for Aries ascendant, and I just told you earlier in the video about how, you know, they struggle to find their happiness and their peace of mind. There we go. Yeah, that's one thing. An Aries ascendant person can struggle to find their peace of mind within their household, and or struggle to find their peace of mind with the family that they come from. They'll struggle with that. So the 4th house is like a troubled area for the, you know, the Aries ascendant person. But Jupiter, there we go. Had to think. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer and is debilitated in Capricorn. So, with Jupiter being exalted in Cancer, we see that obviously your mother would be a source of knowledge to you, which would be true. I don't know of any mythological lore for Aries, Ashwini people in regards to, you know, like, I don't know if the Ashwin Kumars, they had like some significant relationship with their mother or mother figure. Neither do I know for Yama. But if we're going to go jump to Kartikeya and Kritika, at least from vague memories of Google searches, I do believe, well, ain't no I do believe. You do know that Kartikeya was raised and brought up by women. And we do know that, and I do believe the vague memories that his mother, Parvati, did end up teaching him something vital, maybe a technique or something. I don't remember the details, but we do know women played a vital role in regards to Kartikeya and his relationship and association with Kritika Nakshatra. So we could see that the mother or women could be a vital teacher within their life. They can get their nurturing and knowledge from their mother. Could be a source of knowledge, or a motherly figure might be a source of maybe like wisdom in their life for Aries ascendant. And then, like I said, Jupiter is debilitated in Capricorn, so Jupiter would be in the 10th house. Now, no, in general with Jupiter and Capricorn, it's just that the wisdom of Jupiter is like being utilized for material wealth, for material gains, to function in the jungle. Which is sort of another reason why Mars is exalted in the 10th, gains directional strength in the 10th house, and is exalted in the 10th house. To make it to the top, to be at the top of your career, to be at the top of your profession, you got to be aggressive, you got to be an animal, you got to be cutthroat. People who are millionaires, they didn't get it being nice. Most of them didn't get it by being fair. So the wisdom sort of becomes corrupted within Capricorn. It sort of becomes corrupted. You want to win in this world by any means necessary, in a sense. So the Aries ascendant person with Jupiter and Capricorn in the 10th house, their wisdom might be corrupted, which unfortunately is sort of what you need to function in this world in a material sense. They might have a huge gain, or they might be real driven to seeking wisdom and knowledge in regards to their career. Probably a materialistic career base, or probably a materialistic sort of career, not like a spiritual career probably. But their wisdom goes towards like conquering the 10th house. What else can I say? Let's jump to the 5th house. The 5th house is Leo. Sun's mutual sign is Aries. Sun's mutual consign is Leo. Sun originally rules Leo. Leo, if you've seen my latest manga video, at least when I'm putting this video, but the video cut off. As I was saying, that's the 4th house. So now we move into the 5th house. 5th house is Leo. Sun rules Leo. Sun's mutual consign is Leo. And as I said in my Maga Nakshatra video, all of Leo is associated with leadership. And yeah, all of Leo is associated with leaders when you break down the nakshatras of each of the nakshatras that fall within the Leo Rashi. So what can we say for an Aries ascendant person? They will either have children who will be like a leader. They'll raise leaders. Or they will be, you know, like that dominant leader or a strong figure, a strong presence for their child, for one of their children. Or their children in general just be leadership capabilities and qualities. Leo's a very dynamic sign. Leos can fall into a lot of career paths and professions. I'm getting lost in the sauce. But short and simple, what I would say with Sun being the original ruler of Leo, and if you just imagine Sun's presence within, if you just imagine the presence of Sun in the 5th house, then we could just say that your presence would be strong, would be prevalent in your kid's life. You might be a little bit dominant, but that's my little theory for, you know, the 5th house. Because there we go, that's what I was looking for. Mars is friends with Sun, Moon, and Jupiter. And this, so yes, with Mars having a good relationship with Sun, and Sun originally ruling the 5th house, I would say that your dominant presence would be evident and present within your child's life. What can I say? Let's move on to the 6th house. 6th house is Virgo. What else can we say about the 6th house? We know that Mars doesn't get along with Mercury. The enemy of Mars is Mercury. So we know that Mars doesn't do good in mercurial signs because Mars just wants to take action. You see, Mars in Virgo is different from Mars in the 6th house. Mars wants to handle the 6th house issues in his own way, which is taking action and just maybe being brash and aggressive and whatever. But Virgo's a little bit more intelligent. It overthinks. It's going to measure and go over something multiple times before it takes action, and Mars can't get with that. So what can I say about the 6th house? Because this is where Mercury is exalted. If you was to put Mercury there, Mercury is exalted and Mercury is debilitated in the 6th. In the 12th. So the 6th house is an interesting area for the Aries ascendant. They are essentially sort of forced to have to deal with the 6th house things in an intelligent manner, and they don't want to, or they don't like to. They want to be impulsive. They want to handle it. But the 6th house, as we already know, deals with diseases and debts. It's a house of prarabdha karma, karma and actions that you must face and deal with in this lifetime. It's the obstacles that you got to face and deal with in this lifetime. So Aries ascendant is forced to deal with the obstacles of the day-to-day world in life, and they don't want to deal with it in an intelligent manner. They want to deal with it in maybe more so of an aggressive, brash, impulsive manner, and that might end up getting them into trouble and debts and create obstacles. Also, Venus is debilitated in the 6th house, but exalted in the 12th. So you could say for an Aries ascendant person that they will naturally deal with obstacles and trials and tribulations more so than usual when it comes to women. Women would be an obstacle and problem and sore thumb or thorn in their ass in their life more so than usual. Relationships would be a sore thumb, an issue, an obstacle more so than usual for an Aries ascendant, especially since I told you that Sun is debilitated you know, in the 7th house of Libra for an Aries ascendant. And we see that Venus is debilitated in the 6th house. So they would have to, their karma is to deal with these obstacles with the marriage, to deal with these obstacles with relationships more so than usual. Um, what else can I say about these people? Venus is exalted in the 12th house of Pisces. Now, this is what you could say about Pisces. So this is what you could say. We know that 12th house deals with foreign lands, unusual areas and territories, the subconscious, hidden bed pleasures, secret affairs and bed pleasures and all that bullshit. We can see that, you know, the Aries ascendant person can be very vulnerable to maybe having hidden affairs. They could have a huge sex drive. Because if the 12th house is associated with bed pleasure and Venus is exalted there, and even when you just break down Venus even more, Venus is in Pisces. The original ruler of Pisces is Jupiter. Jupiter is associated with expansion. Jupiter doesn't have a bunch of rings around it like Saturn does, so it's almost like boundless love with Venus and Pisces. You love everybody. You want to be with everybody. And this love can be in a sexual sense, or this love can be maybe in a different sense. But I'm going to go read this in a sexual sense. One of the possibilities for Aries ascendant is that they can be a hoe. This putting it out there. They're struggling to be in a serious committed relationship because of their ego, their strong dominance. They don't know when to back down. And women are obstacles for them, with love and relationships are obstacles for them. They're just good at short relationships and short dealings, nothing long lasting. They might be secret hidden affairs, and they might just find love in another state, another country. They might love people of different races. They might have a lot of sexual affairs with people of out of state, find love in another state versus where they come from. You might see that with an Aries ascendant. And with Mercury being debilitated in the 12th house, Mercury represents your logical thinking mind and all that good stuff. Yeah, with that being the case, Mercury being debilitated, we see that, you know, these people, I don't know. I'm not gonna say I lost my train of thought, but I did sort of lost my flow. Let me jump back real quick to Mercury's exaltation in the 6th house. With Mercury representing your communication, Mercury representing your intelligence. Even though Mars doesn't get along well with Mercury, we see that in a sense, the Aries ascendant person, they might still conquer and overcome the 6th house obstacles. Because it's like, alright, I don't like using my logic and intelligence to deal with the 6th house, but I'm still, you know, I don't know. I believe the Aries ascendant, they might conquer they might be able to easily conquer their day-to-day issues and 6th house obstacles, but in their own way. And with Mercury being debilitated in the 12th house, I don't know. They probably are not good at dealing with other people's problems or whatever. I can't come up with a good example. Y'all can help me in the goddamn comments. Like I said, I'm just making this video to show you how to interpret the houses with a blank chart. The 7th house, Libra, marriage, relationships. Saturn is exalted in Libra. I already told you, their spouse might help them learn how to be subservient, how to calm their ego down, how to interact with people on an intimate level without their ego being involved. I already explained the 8th house with Moon being debilitated in Scorpio, and Mars also ruling Scorpio, the 8th house. They got to deal with the trauma. They suffer with not really having mental peace. And you know what? With the Moon naturally being debilitated in the 8th house, in Scorpio, and we see that the 4th house is a difficult area for an Aries ascendant person, they just don't really have that mental peace. And in general, when I interpret someone's chart and I see that their moon is badly damaged and their fourth house is badly damaged, they can't really stay indoors. They gotta always be in the move. They gotta always go out, and they have to always be on the move. They have to always go out. They're not really happy with just sitting still. They gotta be doing something. You'll see that with an Aries ascendant person. Let's jump to the ninth house. The ninth house is Sagittarius. Jupiter's multicone sign. What can I say about this place? Mars relationship with Jupiter. They're friends. I ain't gonna hold you. I'm not gonna lie to you. Just tell you shit just to be telling you shit. But I can't think of a good example of what would be prominent with the ninth house of Aries. I don't want to say stupid surface level shit like, oh, your knowledge or wisdom from father will be very prevalent. But who knows? Father, that might actually be the answer. Your father would probably be a very important figure in your life in general for an Aries ascendant. I say this because the Mars is exalted in the 10th house. You see, the ninth house is the wisdom of the father or father figure or guru. But the 10th house can be the relationship with the father or father figure. And seeing as how the ascendant Lord is exalted in the 10th house of your career and of maybe like the relationship with the father or father figure, we see that father can be prevalent in your life. Father can help shape your career, have a huge influence in your career. And with Jupiter's multicone sign being in the ninth house, we can see that the father figure in your life could have a prominent role in your belief system, in your religion. So yes, father or father figure could have a huge impact in your religion, your belief system, and your career. For better or for worse, they can have a huge impact on them. Whether it's true they're being absent in your life or being present in your life, being abusive in your life, they could greatly shape your career in your ninth house things that I just mentioned. And I already talked about the 10th house. So now we can just jump to the 11th house, Aquarius. Aquarius is the multicone sign of Saturn. Rahu also sort of co-rules Aquarius. The 11th house is large social network circles, organizations, gains, and it's the eldest sibling. So one of the things, what can we say about the 11th house? We can say for an Aries ascendant person that they'll maybe eventually later in life, since Saturn represents elder things, maybe later in life or as you get older, you'll gain the ability to naturally be able to maybe rule, and maybe you'll probably be able to rule over large social network circles and organizations and groups of people, or maybe you'll serve and be a part of and work under a large social network circle and organization, because Saturn is a servant. Saturn isn't a leader. Saturn is a servant. It wants to work with the masses. It wants to work with other people. So with you as the Aries ascendant person, and since we know that your ego dies in the 7th house, you're debilitated in the 7th house, Saturn's exalted in the 7th house, your spouse would help you gain direction on how to work with other people and be subservient in marriage. I feel as though if you as the Aries ascendant person want to get huge financial gains and network circles, your ego will have to die. And you'll have to learn how to integrate yourself into other groups and listen to other people and absorb knowledge and absorb wisdom and all that good stuff. You'll have to learn how to communicate. Ninth from the third house is the 11th house, and the third house is your communication. 9 places from the third house is the 11th house. The ninth house, so in the ninth place from the third house is going to have the significations of the ninth house, which is that teacher, that guidance, that father. When you learn how to properly communicate with people, when you learn how to properly integrate yourself with groups and large masses, you will be rewarded with the gains of the 11th house. Network circles and people supporting you and helping you. But you got to learn how to communicate. You got to learn how to integrate yourself with groups. And with Saturn's Muchacon being in the 11th house and Saturn just representing, time and things of old age, this might take you some time till you get to that point. And then finally, you got the 12th house. The 12th house is Pisces. And I already explained the 12th house because I had to explain the 12th house when it came to Venus exaltation and when it came to Mercury's debilitation. So, but very briefly, you have maybe a lot of secret, hidden romantic affairs. You'll find love outside your race. You could find love in another country, another state. What else can I say? That's all I can really say, because for some reason I'm having a brain fog when it comes to how would Mercury behave in the 12th house or with Venus, and it's crazy because I should know this, but I don't want to just say something just to sound smart. I don't want to just say something just to sound smart. But I'm gonna go briefly look at my notes real quick, make sure I'm not missing nothing. But that's essentially how you can interpret an ascendant and a chart without any planets. But nope, I hit everything. So I hope that this video gave you a lot more understanding of how to begin to start to interpret charts without planets, and it gave you insight on yourself if you got an Aries ascendant, or if you got a bunch of planets that are in Aries. You could be like, oh shit, my Venus is in Aries. I do date and attract women like this. Oh shit, my 7th Lord is in Aries. I date or attract women and men like this. Oh shit, my 10th Lord is in Aries. My career does have these themes. You be able to see all of this stuff. But this is part 1 of Secrets of Ascendants and Aries. Thank you. See you on the next one.